Hello, Mongoose Magic Moments, friends. Hello, world. It's author the Meerkatman, the Mongoose Man, coming to you live from the Meerkatmagic Valley Reserve of the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project here in the Western Cape of South Africa. It's a beautiful sunny day, and the world-famous Kakulu Kucholina Chenorentola Tsebokolodi, who thousands of people from all over the world know and love, is here at the Meerkatmanchen research base, visiting on this beautiful day. We are, of course, covered in a jungle. The Meerkatmanchen, the Mongoose Mansion, it's one of the jokes we have in the area because, of course, it's more like a monastery, if anything. I have a very Spartan existence as a wildlife research biologist, and therefore the mansion is, of course, a joke for those who know. So I am surrounded at the moment by beautiful jungle plants. As you can see here, these massive leaves are covering the entire area. Of course, they're one of the highly edible plants in the area, known as Malva parviflora, starting you off right away with an S-bomb, a science bomb. No, this is not a tame animal. No, this is not a zoo. I am a wildlife research biologist. For those who know me, I decided to do a live stream for all our YouTubers out there today. Quite often I do a TikTok live stream, but I have been asked by many to come back and do some live streams for you. So I hope you arrive and show some love. Yes, please do like, share, and subscribe. You can ask your questions, send them to me in the comments, and I will get back to you. I do appreciate you being here, and I hope you're having a magnificent day. Of course, on a day like this, after it being so cold and overcast, the mongooses and the meerkats and all the wildlife in the reserve are out and about, all trying to make a living off everyone else, as I like to say. Of course, this is one of the hunted hunters. She was born in November 2018. She knows me incredibly well. In fact, the shoes that I'm wearing right now have her scent mark on them, and they also have the wild meerkats from the Ungulungu Meerkat group scent mark on them. So I'm basically a piece of mobile territory, and this allows me to get up close to the wild animals that I study. Of course, you are looking at the culmination of thousands and thousands of hours and many, many years of work to get to this point of acceptance so that we can collect unbiased data on our beautiful study animals in the area. The wild meerkat from the Ungulungu Meerkat group have been protected by myself in the reserve and all of our beautiful sponsors from around the world since 2001. And this is a big shout out to all of our sponsors right now, of course, and Associazione Suricati Italia. A big shout out to our wonderful Asia Chile president and Alessia Torchini, who have visited the reserve and of course are very much involved with our wildlife rehabilitation of burrow systems, our wildlife hotels, of course. Great to see you all. I hope you're having a fabulous day. It's the man behind the hand. It's author the Meerkatman, the Mongoose Man, Grant Malcolm mcilrath. But let's just get right back to what's going on. Currently, because we haven't been on streaming for the last few days, it has been freezing cold and overcast. Temperatures really have been miserable for outdoor research. We are accustomed to temperatures going over 50 degrees centigrade, and they have been dropping down to close to freezing, which is very unpleasant for research biologists in this area. So let's have a look at our stunning superstar, Hollywood, Bollywood. You wish you had stars as famous as our wonderful mongoose. She is the only yellow mongoose on the entire planet. That's right, my friends. Out of all the billions who are watching, this is the closest we can get to this species right now in the wild. And she has been followed since November 2018. And I have been protecting her family since 2008. Her mother was incredibly famous. She was on the big screen of the Super Bowl in America, watched by millions of people globally, and that was in the BMW Unscripted series. Buon pomeriggio, amore della mia vita, Alessia Torchini. Ti amo sempre, per sempre, per sempre, mi manchi tanto, e nostra figlia, Cucciolina. Of course, that's a big shout out to one of our best and most wonderful sponsors out there, all the way from Italy right now. Please do visit Viterbo And look out for Alessia Torchini and the world famous Dobby and Harry and Pumina and all of the wonderful animals there that are protected by her and Asia Chili. Champ, champ. Look at those magnificent eyes, my friends. And for those who have been following her journey over all the many years that I've been bringing her life stories to you, you will see on the underside of her mouth, yes, the lower jaw is recovering very well, even though she has that big scar there right now. She has no lower canine teeth. She has no incisors. She escaped from a predator. Yeah. And we were very concerned that she would not survive, but she has managed to survive. The sounds that I'm making are just a way of letting her know it's just me, the same noisy object that she's accustomed to. Let me give you all a look around in case you think I'm in a zoo environment somewhere. It is completely wild. Thank you for all of the wonderful love out there. I do appreciate you. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Please enjoy a bit of mongoose magic moments with us as I go about a daily wildlife research. Hello out there, my friends. Yes, vlogger and many more. Yeah, great to have you with on the stream today. Usually I'm on TikTok giving our friends out there a live stream, but I have been wanting to share some love with our beautiful YouTube audience. Thank you for over 2 million views on our Conservation Through Education channel. Thank you for all the support. And of course, our beautiful film star, the only one in the world that we can get this close to right now. I'm going to give you a bit of her anatomy lesson since we're so lucky to see her up close. We never know how long we're going to see her for. She could go anywhere over this area of many kilometers. But as she comes up to visit, we can have a better look at her anatomy. Of course, this is Synictus penicillata. That is an S-bomb. Yes, I call them S-bombs, science bombs, my friends. Yes. Scientific names. So all the scientists out there know what I'm talking about when I tell you about a Synictus penicillata. You can Google that if you like, of course. Many people from around the world have asked me over the years, but surely you're just making up those names. No, I would never make such horrible names up myself. No, my friends. In fact, our sponsors from around the world give our wildlife research animals names themselves. So she has a number of names, including Kakulu, which is very much in Zulu. Yes, Zulu is one of our local South African languages. Thank you, my friends, for the love in the hearts. I appreciate so much. Yes. So Kakulu, her brother was Giabonga. And in Zulu, you will know, for all our South Africans, a big shout out to you. Isn't it a magnificent day here today in South Africa, especially in the Western Cape, if you're fortunate enough to be in this sunshine-soaked area. Vitamin D-licious is plentiful today, I like to say. Sawubona. Yes. Buon pomeriggio to our Italian friends. Guten Abend to all our German friends out there. Yes. Goeiemiddag almal. Ek hoop dit gaan baie lekker met julle vandag. Ons is hier so by die Mongoose Magic Moments, of course. Yes. Dumela, dumelang. Ujambo rafiki. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our very important Japanese friends out there, our fellow senseis. This is a martial arts dojo, of course, and you can come out and visit if you would like. Yes, the Stone Dojo Gym is world famous, and I would also like to tell you, it is not a tourism site. This is a research and film and fitness site, outdoor fitness fun. I sponsor the local community, so it is free of charge to visit. Please notice our lovely friend has come to visit before I tell you more about the dojo. Yes, this is the Karoo Scrub Lark. Some people call it mistakenly, but it is in fact the Karoo Scrub Robin, my friends. Yes, with the white bars on its tail. Please notice how this bird just happens to be here. You might be thinking, no, the bird is waiting to see if the mongoose digs up any juicy termites or maybe a few tasty caterpillar snacks. Look how it's moved even closer, my friends. This is in fact what we call cooperative vigilance. Yes, another fancier word, just basically saying they work together because in this neighborhood, everything is hunting everything else. So by being close to the mongoose, and please notice how she's not at all interested in the bird, unless the bird makes an alarm, which is beneficial to the mongoose. And if the mongoose makes an alarm, it's beneficial to the bird. So this is the aerial reconnaissance, as I like to say. Of course, the bird knows me very well. I cannot possibly be dangerous because this mongoose would be alarming if I was of any kind of threat to this bird. That's basically what they see. Yes, they learn through associative learning, positive and negative associative learning. This is cognitive psychology in action. It's what I do. Some people call me an animal shrink, an animal whisperer, animal psychologist. The nickname, of course, the Meerkat Man, was given to me by the various film crews I've worked with, including the BBC, National Geographic, and Discovery Channel over the decades. I'm just watching to see what our beautiful little bird friend is going to do. Some birds make false alarms, and we may see them over the day, such as the Luxman, the fiscal shrike. The fiscal shrike I like to call the cry wolf bird. Yes, let's get a closer look at our beautiful Karoo scrub robin. I'm just making sounds that everybody here knows. When I make sounds, and I'm not just talking about talking, of course, talking about all these other sounds I've been making. If you've seen our work, even Sir David Attenborough has had to make these strange sounds you've just heard, because if you worked on our study site in the Kalahari Desert, which he did, yes, I spent 7 years in the southern Kalahari next to the Namibia and Botswana border, working with large animal research group, LARG, LARG, and the world famous Professor Tim Clutton-Brock, a living legend in the research world. He was friends with Diane Fossey. If you ever saw Gorillas in the Mist, no, my friends, it was not a made-up story. It was based on a real-life story of a research biologist. Yes, they shared an office. And then, of course, Professor John Skinner, world famous as well, author of Mammals of the Southern African Subregion, which is, of course, a definitive book on all of the mammals in this area. Mammal Research Institute, MRI. Yes, I was a senior technician there for MRI, Mammal Research Institute, back in 1993 for 7 years on a joint international research project with Cambridge University, as I've mentioned, and South Africa. Of course, that was specializing in the meerkat, the suricate. It is also the home of the Meerkat Manor series, watched by millions around the world. Yes, that's where it all started, back there. This is my own private research project now. And this research project focuses on conservation because I'm a professional nature conservationist first, research biologist second. So that is why you are seeing this right now, because I bring the live streams to you, the unedited behind the scenes and science documentaries. In other words, no AI, artificial intelligence, in case anyone hasn't heard about that yet. Where have you been, my friends? I call it artificial deception. Yes, because many people see things nowadays, especially in nature, and they believe that's happening in the wild. And I'm like, no, it's not. This is what is happening in the wild. That's why I bring you the live streams, my friends, because then you can see for yourself. This is not some made up nonsense, as I call it. It's the real deal. Thanks for all the love, my friends out there. Thank you for sharing. I will keep bringing you the live stream as the day unfolds. You never know what we might see. I'm just super appreciative to have our beautiful film star with us today as she goes about her foraging expeditions. Before too much longer, I will stand up and stretch. But back to our greetings. Konnichiwa, totemo yoi tomodachi minasan. Kudasai homon. Utsukushii Shotokan Karate Budo Dojo. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Sayonara, totemo yoi tomodachi minasan. That's just to our fellow Japanese senseis out there. I do appreciate your inspiration with your dojo. And if you are in the area, look me up. You can find me all over the internet. Contact details, WhatsApp me, let me know you're in the area. Come through and have a visit. There is no charge. Yes, just tell me where you saw my information. You can come out to the Stone Dojo And then after you visit, you can go have a nice swim in our reserve river, which is flowing beautifully after our floods. We had 2 floods this year in this part of the world. Yeah, it's incredible. After a terrible drought of 2025, for those who have watched my streams over last year, you would have noticed there was nothing here except sand. And now look at this jungle. I was mentioning to you earlier, and this is for our special botanist friends out there, or for our plant lovers, gardeners, etc. This is, of course, known as the cheese wood. Yes. And one of the reasons for that name is apparent right now, because it is starting to produce flowers, which later look like little rolls of cheese, apparently. And that's where it gets its name, the cheese wood. It has been eaten for thousands of years, all the way through Europe. Even back in the ancient times of the Romans, they've been eating the cheese wood. Malva parviflora, diciciblar. Yes, you can eat the leaves raw, you can eat them cooked, you can eat the stems. The entire plant is edible. Yeah, you can Google that, Malva parviflora, another S-bomb for you. So I'm surrounded by an entire jungle of edible plants right now. And I leave them exactly where they are because this is my outdoor office. And this is my view. There's the antenna, courtesy of SC Wireless. We are not sponsored by them. I'm just mentioning them because I like to encourage great service and acknowledge it. So this is South Cape Wireless. Shout out to you, Chris and Hugo. Thank you for your excellent service, making this stream possible right now, all the way in this remote area. Yeah, I am hoping, and I hope you get this, Elon Musk. I know your AI grok is scouring the web for information. So please bring Starlink to South Africa. A big shout out to you, Jeff Bezos and Amazon. I believe you will be bringing your satellite internet solution to us over next year. Cannot wait. Yes. All right, in the distance, I hear the Cape Franklin. Some call it the Cape Spurfowl. Yeah. It's like a small chicken, first glance, brownish appearance, red marks on its beak area. Yeah, and that was the start of an alarm system that is happening right now. All right, I see why. That's why she's alert. All right, my friends, everything is trying to make a living off everything else. As I mentioned, what just happened, there was a pale chanting goshawk, Meliaris canoris. Some people call that, but of course that is not Meliaris canoris. Pale chanting goshawk, die bleeksingvalk, flying past, alarming the francolins. Of course, she, on the other hand, is completely protected here because she's next to one of our wildlife hotels. If you'd like to find out more about the wildlife hotels, you can check out comments on pretty much all of the more recent videos, as we are working together with Associazione Suricati Italia to build up additional wildlife habitat. In fact, Asia Chile and Lorenzo, all the way from Italy, and of course Alessia Torchini will be visiting over the next few weeks, and we will be building additional wildlife hotels in this jungle. Wildlife hotels are basically areas that we are recreating for animals that have lost their homes due to plowing or housing being developed over their homes. Even though meerkats and mongoose used to occur in many areas, nobody in the entire world, including myself, who has studied meerkats for longer than anyone else in history, it's a verifiable fact, over 30 years already of professional research, knows how many meerkats and mongoose are in an area anymore. I say anymore. In the past, we had a better count and understanding of how many were in an area, but many of the burrow systems have been developed over and plowed over. So red data book species is incorrect with their count and estimation, saying the meerkat is not an endangered species. They do not refer to the subspecies, however, which is endangered due to habitat loss. Even though we do not know how many are here, we do know how few habitat types are left for them. That means they do not have enough escape tunnels anymore, burrow systems where they can escape from predators such as the one that just flew past. Yes, predators are all around, my friends, and she is a hunted hunter, so she is also a predator. Yes, and we will follow her to where she's going. At the moment, she's basically just spending time under the shade here, even though that bird came along to inspect to see if it was digging up any food. it will no doubt be returning later to see where she is going. The yellow mongoose that we can see here is quite often solitary when it goes hunting, but sometimes when there are babies with them, their babies will be close to them. Otherwise, they do not move around in large groupings when they go hunting, unlike the meerkats, which can be in groups of 30 plus. Yes. Now, she's getting ready to move along, and we are going to follow her. So I'm going to get up soon, which is not easy to do, because I do not want to alarm her. Diggy, diggy, dig. All right, before I go, she's getting alarmed by water birds. These water birds are known as Egyptian geese. And here they go past the base. Let's see them. There they are. Have a look, my friends. And listen. They are part of the neighborhood watch. They are visiting the area because of all the extra water in the area. All right, you're getting a first perspective. Oh, what it's like to unfold 6 foot. Hello again, my friends. Yeah, please notice how she didn't even look at me the entire time because she knew where I was. This is critical in wildlife research. I let them know I'm not a predator. I'm not using stealth. They know where I am at all times. If they cannot see me, they can hear me. These are all key points in NLP, neuro-linguistic program, which I use extensively in my work with wildlife. All right, now we can have a better look around. The Egyptian geese were not making an alarm call. That was their flocking call as they moved together. It was not an alarm because of a predator nearby, but she was still checking. It's always better to check in a neighborhood to make sure that there is not danger approaching. And there are countless alarms, including insects like the cicada, which will make an alarm call if there's any danger nearby. All right, she is not, however, waiting around to check if the danger is returning. She has already moved from one escape area to another. Now, we have built these pioneer colonies for different digging animals to return to. If there's any danger, then they can use them. As you can see, she went in that hole just there and came out over there. We built that for her. Yes, many people think, oh, surely these artificial coral reef equivalents on land. Just to give you a bit of background on that, my friends, our wildlife hotels are the structures that are used by many different inhabitants, but they don't use the same room or chamber beneath the ground at the same time. Hence the hotel concept. So with coral reefs, people are sinking various structures, ships, etc., into the sea, and then they basically create colonies, which can then later become coral reefs. It's basically coral reef seeding. We are doing the same here. It is unique in the world. It is our concept. Associazione Suricati Italia. You can look at the details if you like in our comments, and I will be posting them on this live stream video later. If you'd like to go and visit there and see what they're about. Of course, the Facebook group Meerkat Magic Moments and Mongoose Magic Moments is free to join. You can find out more information about what we are up to there. We appreciate all of the likes, supports, and shares. And if you would like to join the channel as a VIP, we appreciate that even more, of course, because you can have a direct impact on creating additional wildlife hotels. A big shout out to you, Ravi, from the Netherlands, if you're watching this, who sponsored us for her Father's Day celebration. Thank you for that. All right, this is a little drinking area that I dug out many, many years ago when I started the reserve in 2008. Please notice how she is not looking at me because she knows where I am. She can focus on everything else. And again, everything else knows me very well in this area too. That includes predators. They basically treat me as an object because I do not interact with them. As you can see, the mongoose knows where I am. She's doing whatever she wants to do. She's left the shade of this area for now as she moves into another part of her territory. The area is becoming extremely dangerous with this jungle. Before much longer, there will be many snakes active, and on a daytime temperature like this, I will not be at all surprised if we in fact encounter any snakes. but because we are with her, she will find them long before we do. Big shout out to all our herpetologist friends out there, our snake friends. As I always like to mention, thank you to our world famous viral stream that reached over 1.2 million views in under 24 hours, incredibly. Naginiviae, the Cape Cobra, which has neurotoxic venom. And in my conservation video, I discussed this in detail because I encountered the snake. And as I always like to say, the snakes here are not hunting us. They're just trying to make a living like everything else is. And the snakes are our friends. When I say friends, that is a non-scientific term, just in case any of our viewers are scientists out there or pedantic and going, oh, Grant's using non-scientific terms. Yes, these are anthropomorphic statements or anthropomorphisms deliberately used for ease of reference. And I will use things like air quotes or inverted commas, basically saying I'm using a non-scientific term, just so that you know what I'm about when I do that. These are audio codecs. There are many different types. I've recorded over 36 different sounds that meerkats make. I've been recording them over decades already. It is like a language, and that's where the nickname was given to me from the BBC, because I was the interpreter. Yeah. When you're sitting in a nice air-conditioned, cozy room watching some of our documentaries over the decades, you might ask yourself this in future, please. How long does it take to get that close to wild animals? And it can take thousands of hours and many, many years, and that's where I come in. Yeah, when you're seeing the final product up close, people often don't even ask, how did they get that close to a wild animal? This is how, with a great deal of patience and understanding of every individual. Please notice, none of the animals I study have radio transmitters or collars, and this is a highly controversial topic, and that's why I like to mention these in my streams. There are no visual pollutants, as I call them, because none of the animals here have ever been touched by a human hand and never will be. This is a hands-off conservation of habitat and species project. That means the animals here are simply monitored. Their demographics, long-term population dynamics are monitored. The natality, that's the birth rate, mortality, the death rate, and so on. So since 2008, there has been an unbroken study by myself on the yellow mongoose, and since 2001 on the Ungulungu meerkats. Please notice the Ungulungu meerkats are a different subspecies to the one from the Kalahari Desert study site. I have worked with 2 of the 3 currently recognized subspecies of the meerkat. She's never far from one of the escape tunnels. Please have a look. One of the entrances there. We will be building many more. There's an entire buried network of them with hidden insulated chambers beneath the soil here. This entire area has been built up by myself over many years. This eco wall consisting of hundreds and hundreds of kilograms of sand. Because the area here is an ancient riverbed system. So this is as hard as cement or concrete and almost impossible to dig through. And that's why many animals cannot return to these areas, because the ground is simply too hard for them to dig a hole in. They cannot escape from a predator such as a lanner falcon, falco species. Many people ask me, what's the difference between the lanner falcon and the peregrine falcon? Well, the peregrine falcon, Falco peregrinus, is the fastest creature on this rock that we're all on. Yes, reaching speeds over 380 kilometers an hour. 384 supposedly. It has special adaptations in its head to stop its skull from exploding on a steep dive. Yes, the peregrine falcon occurs here, and so does the slower version, the lanner falcon, Falco biomicus. In the distance, I hear what I recently made a video about, Cape turtle dove. Some people call it the work harder bird in the morning. Work harder, based on its call. And there it is, sitting up there. Yes. Lovely sound that they're making. The white noise. Please notice she's currently hunting. I'm not following her up close. I'm keeping a respectful distance here. She knows where we are. Most of the food that she will dig up will be beneath the ground. But currently, what she is doing, my friends, is sunning. This is thermoregulation. She is warming herself up. She's turning the side of her body to the sunlight, just like a cat, increasing the surface area. Meerkats will typically sun by turning their bellies towards the sunlight and standing up on their back legs. Yes, there are many different bird sounds that can be heard. She's going to go and inspect one of her burrows here, just moving back. Ah, there's her ally. The Karoo scrub robin. It's already getting warm. Maybe she'll come out of this entrance. There we go. Wonderful, as you can see there. No radio transmitters, as I was mentioning. No BioTrack from Britain. No Telonics from America. Just pure, unadulterated wildlife. The way I like to see it. Untouched by a human hand. They go where they want, when they want, and however they want to move through their territories. They are the true wild animals. They were not introduced to an area. And on that topic, I would like to say a very important point about not thinking that anybody owns wildlife is the key to understanding and appreciating them, firstly, because in conservation, I like to tell you the following information, my friends. If you have a game farm or a reserve, please stop fencing everything in using very, very dense wire netting, which prevents many animals from migrating. Meerkats and mongoose will go through, over, and under fences quite often. But many other animals like tortoises are unable to distribute themselves as they would normally, and that can cause all sorts of genetic issues because genetic material is not being dispersed as it would have been. And that is because many wildlife ranch managers have this terrible and inexcusable habit, and I'm saying this officially here, of putting rocks at the base of their fences to try and prevent even the smallest of creatures from leaving their properties. You know who you are if you're out there. Stop doing it. Stop it. You are not a nature conservationist, and you do not care about the animals on your property if you think you can contain them, because you're in fact having the opposite effect. You are destroying your wildlife. Yes. So this message is for all of you out there, and you'll know what I'm talking about. That's right. On my wildlife streams, I tell it how it is. Yes. And in this area alone, there are a number of culprits, and I'm not going to mention their name. You know who you are. Yes, you know when I'm talking about you. I'm specifically referring to your terrible practice of putting stones at the base of fences to try and stop tortoises and all other animals from dispersing. That is the opposite of conservation. Yes. And nature conservation officials, government officials, you need to get out there and fine all of these people who are doing this. It needs to happen because they are not listening. Whenever you find rocks placed at the base of fence, be given to all of these so-called reserves and game farms. That is absolute nonsense and should not be tolerated, because you are in fact causing a complete cessation in migratory routes of animals. Now tortoises can't disperse anymore, simply because a person decided to place rocks at the bottom of the fence. All right, enough on that topic. That is one conservation topic that needed to be addressed. Another bit is through people not even being aware quite often that that is the Great Black Mountain Range, die Groot Swartberge, my friends. Yes, it is part of a World Heritage Site, Cape Floristic region, Big shout out to our Cape Townian friends. Dag daar in Kaapstad vandag, my vriende, seker. Oh, die somer is op pad. The temperatures there will go over 50 degrees centigrade, my friends. All right, lovely, lovely, lovely. Let's get back to the action. In the distance, I hear the hardy-dar ibis. Many South Africans curse the bird, unfortunately for the bird, because it will quite commonly wake them up in the morning all around our beautiful country. The hardy-dar ibis, can be heard. Yes, and it's an onomatopoeic name. Bit of a jargon bomb there. The sound made by the animal sounds similar to the name given to it, like bok makiri. Bok makiri, the bird that occurs here as well. The scientific names are terrible, in my opinion. Telephorus zeylonis for the bok makiri. You can Google that if you like. And of course, here's another S-bomb for you, science bomb. Bostrichia haggardash. Yes, the hardy-dar ibis. I call them the yes birds, the yafuil. Yes. Yeah. Our South Africans watching this will know what I'm talking about. And I bet you haven't heard it unless you've been on my streams. The ya bird, the yes bird, the motivation bird, of course, for our beautiful Stone Dojo gym up on the rise there. As I mentioned, you're welcome to visit me. Come out and see the Stone Dojo for yourself and add a rock to this world-famous landmark. The only one of its kind on the planet. Yes, it's true. Nobody has ever done something like this, built a gym out of stone simply because they wanted to go to the highest area and build a gym with a beautiful view to encourage people to work together, no matter how long it would take them. I have not used cement or concrete in that gym. You can see the building of the gym on the internet. There are many videos of this when it was still a little baby with a few rocks. One of the rocks there took me 2.5 years to move up the hill, the highest point in the area. Yeah, it's all about our community working together. Getting out there and enjoying this vitamin delicious right now, as I like to call it. Let's get up closer to see what she's currently doing as she goes foraging. Please notice the ever-present sidekick, as I like to call it. Yes, the Karoo scrub robin. Oh, please notice this. You cannot write these scripts, and that's why I like to call them unedited wildlife documentaries, my friend. Look at that. Oh, look, Grant, the bird is being attacked by the ruthless, terrible mongoose, inverted commas, non-scientific terms, and a lot of nonsense. No, it is not, my friends. Many people misunderstand the true nature of wildlife because they never even see them in the wild. They only see tame animals, which are nothing like the wild animals in behavior and food preferences. Their diet is different. They are given what they are given in captivity and have no choice but to eat it or die. And that is why many people mistake the diet of captive meerkats with wild meerkats. And then they think the meerkats are eating all of these things in the wild, and the same with mongoose. And they give the meerkats a mongoose diet. Here's a key point for all of you out there. No, the meerkat is not a mongoose. I keep seeing this all over. Scientists are still saying this. No, it is nonsense. There are many anatomical differences between the meerkat and its closest living relatives, the mongooses. Even the name is confusing. A mongoose, plural mongooses, not mongoose and mongai. I do like to mention some of these points again and again on live streams because I never know who might be seeing them for the first time. If you're one of them, now you know. 1 mongoose, 2 mongoose. No, mongooses. All right, my friends. Yes, you heard it here, my friends. That's right. Yes. I just thought I'd punctuate that with a little fright quickly for you all out there, because many people believe that a mongoose and a meerkat is the same thing. There are 36 species, some say 34 of mongooses right now, and many still include the meerkat. Firstly, this mongoose has carnassial teeth, Synictus penicillata. 2 more on the upper jaw and 2 more on the lower jaw. The meerkat does not even have those. In other words, 4 teeth less than a Synictis penicillata. That's one very important anatomical difference. And I mention this for you because many people give meerkats a diet given to a mongoose and expect it to be able to digest that food, and they cannot. That is a urine mark happening right now. Yes. Long-term send post, an SSMS, as I call them, sent short message system. That's my own term. Yes. An SSMS, smellogram. It's basically the scent marking equivalent of our internet posting on social media. They are constantly posting messages to let others know, stay out of our territory or you can come on in. Stay out, because if you come into our territory, it's saturated. There's no food for you, no resources, no breeding opportunities, or in fact, the opposite is true. So they're constantly advertising. I hear the Egyptian geese again. She only looked up briefly because they are not making an alarm sound. By understanding the different neighbors in a neighborhood, animals that grow up there do not spend their time unnecessarily being alarmed, wasting energy. So it is a cooperative benefit, an interspecies communication benefit. Please notice how she's not even looking at me. Just like any other animal in the species neighborhood here that they're familiar with, that's what I am to them. Mongoose magic moments, my friends. We are not the outsiders looking in, as I like to say. Right now, doing wildlife research, out of all the billions of people on the planet, myself and this yellow mongoose are the closest of any of us to this species right now. Please notice the white tip to her tail. It's characteristic of Synictis penicillata. And there's another long-term mark in case you didn't see the other one. There's a urine mark. Very, very important mark because it's at the entrance of a wildlife hotel. And in fact, that is the first time we've been able to see one so clearly in any of my videos. There you can see it. Very distinct marking. She's claiming this as her territory. Of course, she's not alone in the area. There are other mongoose species that live here, including the water mongoose, Atilex paludinosus, the large grey, also known as the Egyptian mongoose, Herpestes ichneumon, the Cape grey or small grey mongoose. It's had a number of name changes. The last I checked, it was Herpestes oropunctatus or oropunctata. Still a lot of debate on the names, but if you use the old names as well, like Gallarella, you will still find the species, even though the scientific names have been changed by some people as the animals get reclassified genetically, etc. Science is, of course, ongoing. It's all about answering questions and asking new ones and finding out new ways of looking at things. So it's constantly being tested, and that is a good thing. And that is why these scientific names do not remain constant, even though when I studied them back in the 90s for my conservation work, we were told it's basically one name for one species all around the world. It doesn't matter which language people are speaking, they will know in science which animal you're referring to, plant, etc., which species to be specific. Now, however, the names have been changing so often it's difficult to keep track of them. The Cape gannet, Morris capensis, became Sula capensis. Maybe it's something else now. Canis masomellis, the black-backed jackal, is now also something else. Synictis penicillata is still Synictis penicillata for now. All right, she's back to another wildlife hotel, going into the shade here. For those who watched the streams when it was a drought of 2025, it's incredible to see how this plant has actually grown back it completely dried up and looked burnt out. Well, it's becoming lovely and warm outside, maybe early 20 degrees centigrade. Very pleasant, but still very cold, in my opinion, day to day, compared to what we are used to. Burrow systems can be 10 degrees warmer under the ground than the surface would be in winter, and 10 degrees cooler. She'll be coming out over there in a moment. Yes, in summer. So now she can go into one of the entrances there, cool down slightly, and there she is. Getting to know wildlife behaviors allows me to track them reliably, and I've done so over decades without the use of radio collars. I've proven this can be done. And as I like to say, the question is ethics. Just because we can do something does not mean we should do it. And this is a specific point to all of our other fellow research biologists around the world. Please ask yourself this question: do you really need to fit that radio transmitter? Maybe it will make your life a bit easier. You will leave a visual pollutant. The animals I study have never been touched by a human. Here we go. It's never been touched. Never will be. If I even had to try and move up to her to try and touch her, just to answer some people's questions on this, she would consider me to be a direct threat, a predator, because this is not something she is used to, and it is not something I will ever get her used to. Yes, not a tame animal, my friends. She goes wherever she wants. This is a massive territory covered in holes in the ground, if you know where to look. And this brings me to another point. If you do not know where to look, and you are released here, and imagine you are a mongoose or a meerkat, only standing 15 to 20 centimeters above the ground in this jungle. Again, this is a perspective looking from my view, and I'm just over 6 foot. So, in this vegetation, it is impossible to know where the escape tunnels are in the ground if you have not visited the area and have not grown up in the area. You will also not have any idea about what is dangerous in an area and what is not. You will spend your time running away from everything and not having enough time to get food. And then inevitably, when you are hungry, that's when something will catch you and make a meal of you. And that is why animals that grow up in an area survive in those areas, because they know what is dangerous and what isn't. All right, she's moving out to get some more sunshine. That vitamin delicious, as I call it. I'm just moving slowly, and I'm masking the sounds of my movements, because if I do not, I will alarm her. And it's very important that animals remain constantly aware of sounds like scraping and crunching of twigs and rustling of leaves, coughing and sneezing. Many research biologists, and if you're one of them, listen up, please. Do not tame animals in the wild. If you're researching them, it's very easy to do so, and that is unethical, because you're creating what we call unselective trust. You're building associations to sounds that they need to remain alert about. Coughing and sneezing, scraping sounds can all be made by predators, and they must not ignore those sounds. Right now, the only reason she's not looking at me with my noise, please notice she's not even looking when I do that. Yes, now she's looking, not at me. Please notice she's not looking at me. She is constantly looking around everywhere except at me. And the reason for that is she's watching out for danger. She knows I'm not dangerous, but I can lose that trust very easily. A trust that has taken many, many years to get. This is not how any other human will experience a yellow mongoose. If they even notice them, which is highly unlikely in the wild, or meerkats, they will see them perhaps for a moment as the animals run for cover and go underground. That's if they are lucky enough to see them. Sometimes people have grown up in an area for their entire lives and could be over 80 years old, and they've never even seen the animals that live there all around them. I know this because I study these animals in areas where people have grown up in those areas. I had a guest, and they were a beautiful couple, husband and wife. Incredible. What a story. Combined age of over 182 years of life experience, 90 and 92 respectively. Really astounding. And they had never seen meerkats in the wild until they visited me, and I showed them this, and they were actually in tears. And that was incredibly moving for me, because in the past, wildlife research was only for wildlife researchers, film crews. I'm talking about professor and fellow academics, doctorates, postdocs, etc., masters. What about everybody in the public? Why are they not enabled to go and experience that? And that is why I set up the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project initially and spent over 9 years doing ecotourism. Now I can reach millions of people through a live stream video, and that's why I prefer to do that, because it does not matter where you are from. You can experience this without disturbing the animals or the habitat that they are in, which is very sensitive to disturbances. So, an unedited wildlife documentary. And right now, anyone who watches this with me, I'm deliberately including my shadow here. She chose to walk through the shadow. I would not usually move my shadow in front of anyone. That would be considered very rude, inverted commas, non-scientific term there. So I'm going to gradually move out the way. Meerkats who are warming their bellies, I've discussed this before, in the morning will all stand so each one of them has their own patch of sunlight to warm up in. I call them nature's solar panels for that reason. The ventral side, their stomach area is very dark. The gray skin shows through. There's very fine hair there. However, with the yellow mongoose, she has got very fine hair, almost like that of a cat. So when she is warming up, as you have already seen, if you're watching the stream for a while, you will have noticed how she turns her side to the sunlight. And it's again what she's doing. This is thermoregulation. She's not just sitting there randomly, she's actually warming up. Meerkats will stop what they are doing and stand up on an overcast day as soon as there's a break in the clouds, just to get that bit of extra sunlight. And if it is very cold, they will curl up into a tight ball to stop themselves from losing heat through their stomach area. She doesn't need to do that. And in fact, when a yellow mongoose stands up, and some of my videos have shown this, you will see how their legs stick outwards. Show you my shadow, almost like that of a zombie, some people say to me, because the legs are sticking outright, whereas the meerkat's legs hang down along their stomachs. That's sunning again that she's doing, and vigilance behavior. So two behaviors very specifically there, and a bit of auto-grooming. Auto-grooming, when one grooms itself. Allo-grooming is when multiple animals groom, and we can see whether it was initiated by one and whether it was reciprocated by another, whether the other groomed back. Lower ranking animals will quite often initiate or start allo-grooming a higher ranking animal and not be groomed back. So then it would be, who is the initiator in the data collection? Was it reciprocated, yes or no? Just a bit of data terminology there for you. It's very interesting because it helps us establish a hierarchy, who is in charge within a specific group of meerkats or yellow mongoose in this case. All right, so she's back right next to an escape tunnel. She's never far from safety. Although she may seem relaxed, she is never, in fact, relaxed. She cannot be relaxed. Even having a little scratch there in a moment's time, please notice how she's looking around again, and her ears are constantly moving around in search of potential sounds revealing danger or food. The meerkats have thick, fleshy valves in their ears, just like Halogali hirtula and parvula, the dwarf mongoose, dwergmeisond, and the banded mongoose, Mangos mongo and Gambianus. I mentioned those specifically because the yellow mongoose has fine paper-like ears with fine hair covering them and no valve. It's another big anatomical difference. Yes. Yellow mongoose has 5 nails on the front feet, 4 on the back, like that of a dog. It is not like the banded mongoose with 5 on the front feet, 5 on the back. Meerkat has 4 on the front feet, 4 on the back. Again, very, very different. And if you're wondering about that, please go and check out Google and find out which other species of mongoose have 4 nails on the front and the back. You're welcome to drop a comment on that, because you're going to find there are many anatomical differences. I'm just highlighting a few. So meerkat's hair is very coarse, almost like that of a dog's. It does not cover the underside of their feet. The yellow mongoose has hair under their feet. Meerkat has those long nails on the front feet, short on the back. The nails can be over 1 centimeter long. Yellow mongoose front nails are about 2 to 3 millimeters in length. And the front and the back about the same. So the meerkat is a very big difference there. What we just noticed was an SSMS. It was not just her touching a rock. She's leaving messages behind. She already left that urine mark earlier, which is already, if we go back to that entrance that we were looking at earlier, the urine has already dried out completely, just leaving the message behind. Thank you so much, everyone, for the shares and the likes. Please do check out the shop for Mongoose Magic Moments. And if you're a Meerkat fan, check out Meerkat Magic Moments. And, of course, for our fitness friends out there, the Stone Dojo Gym shop. We appreciate your support. Our products sponsor our wildlife hotels, and these products are all unique to my project. Magic Conservation Project here. And our American supplies deliver all around the world. Yes. If you send me a picture of yourself with any of our products from our shop, I will include it on social media if you would like. Many people don't want their images or photos of themselves included, but I respect that. But if you would like that, I will include them for you. Again, shout out to Ravi, who wanted that photograph certificate of her father's name on our social media recently for Father's Day, which I did for you. Thank you again for your support there, Ravi. All the way from the Netherlands. Please also notice another anatomical difference between the meerkat and the yellow mongoose. Yellow mongoose has a horizontally slitted pupil. Now you could see it clearly, like that of a goat, I like to say. It is not a vertically slitted pupil like that of a cat. The meerkat has a round pupil, another big anatomical difference between them and a typical mongoose. So, many differences between them anatomically and behaviorally. Going back to the banded mongoose, I had the incredible opportunity to study them back in 1997 in Queen Elizabeth Park, Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda on the equator, next to Lake Edward, the Ruwenzori Mountains and the Virungas. I like mentioning that every time I remember this experience because it is such an incredible area. Wild hippopotamus, elephant, lion, hyena, very challenging research world. Shout out to Jason Gilchrist, if you're out there still, my friend, who survived buffalo trampling and during his stay in Uganda. In case you're wondering what a buffalo is, my friends out there, it looks a bit like a bison. Yeah, it's a massive bovine, can weigh over 1,000 kilograms. Even lions are reluctant to tackle them. It's basically like a big bull on steroids. Yeah, to use very non-scientific description there. That was just me letting you know that was not anything to be alarmed at from myself. This happens sometimes when animals are becoming very relaxed, sunning themselves, like meerkats. They'll become easily alarmed as they start to fall asleep, and then I think it's because they remember that they're exposed, and then they take shelter nearby. It is much safer. Rather be safe than sorry, as the saying goes. There she is, our beautiful film star. Thank you for visiting, my friends. You're currently watching the only wildlife stream on a yellow mongoose in the entire world. Already, this is just on 1 hour of unedited wildlife documentary. Yep. Thanks so much for the beautiful comments there, my friends, from earlier as well. I really appreciate that. Marcel MNMNMNO. That's quite a long name. I like that. Very descriptive. Yes, my friends, and all our recent subscribers, I do appreciate you. Again, many people ask me, don't you have a shop? Please do go check out the shop on the front page. There are many items, and I recommend you go to the main shop, not just the window shopping section on our website. Spread Shop is amazing in America and supply people from around the world with our products. And if you have any young children of your own and you're fortunate enough to be in that position, please check out the baby grows. Yeah, we even have those on our shop with our unique in the world images from our research and conservation work. You can have a meerkat and a mongoose magic moments baby grow. Get them started at a young age in even the Stone Dojo, and then one day bring them over for a workout at the Stone Dojo gym. I'm just going to move back again. Hello again, my friends out there. Again, it's the man behind the hand, author of the Meerkat Man, the Mongoose Man. What a magnificent day it is today here in the reserve. I really hope you're having a most beautiful day. Yes, look at that dojo out there. World famous landmark. You can Google map search for it and plot a route from anywhere on the planet. Yes, it's incredible to find that pile of rocks, which is so famous. Come and add your own rock to it. There's no charge financially, except everybody who visits the gym is expected to add a rock, whether it's a little pebble or a larger rock, does not matter. And then they become part of the dojo's legacy. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, I'm just loving the sunlight right now. It's wonderful. It has been so cold and overcast. It is, in fact, the first day that I'm not wearing a tracksuit top. Can you believe it? One of these days, I'll be able to get back into the tank tops and shorts, which is my uniform for most of the year, except when it gets too cold here, of course. I do miss the 50 degrees centigrade temperatures. Many people in Europe are having a tough time right now, but that's the kind of weather the meerkats and the mongoose here are used to. And I'm always around where the wildlife are. Yes. And as far as wildlife stream schedules go, there are no schedules that I post in advance because I work on a wildlife schedule, which is whenever possible, I will bring you our live research as it happens. So right now, she is far away from the dominant male, Nuvolino, sponsored name by Associazione Suricati Italia, an international conservation collaboration for habitat protection, amongst other aspects of their work. And if you've seen the president of the association there, Asia Chili, she is very famous in Italy as well with the various programs she's been involved with. And she's coming out to visit us. We're very excited with her and Lorenzo. Yeah, only a few weeks from now, my friends. Look forward to it. All right, that's an alarm. One of the vehicles on a distant road drove past, triggering a neighborhood alarm from the Cape Spurfowl, or as I prefer to call them, the Cape Francolin. And immediately she became alert. Again, please notice how her legs stick outwards, unlike the meerkats, because she's got those 5 nails on the front feet, 4 on the back. It's almost like that thumb doesn't allow the legs to hang flat along her body easily. It's stiff. And that's one of the ways you can tell the difference, even in a silhouette, from a yellow mongoose standing up in the distance and a meerkat looking out for that leg sticking outwards. Yeah, a little pro tip there for you, my friends, if you ever see them in the wild. You'll certainly be very fortunate enough to do that. I would like to include a number of videos that I've taken over the decades, but there's an ongoing and never-ending list of videos to upload. I am trying to get through them. I say trying. I've uploaded so many. We have over 1,800 videos already on the channel, and that is a mere drop in the ocean of videos that need to be uploaded. So, between wildlife research, such as you can see now, I try to bring you additional content. One of the beautiful videos that I was lucky enough to film was with a yellow mongoose and a Ceratotherium samum. I wonder how many of their friends of the jargon, the science, will recognize that I'm referring to the white rhinoceros and the Cynictus, the yellow mongoose, of course. Yes, a recent visit. Ooh, Cape Robin, what a rare surprise. There we go. That's lucky. Look at that, our friends out there, bird friends. Oh, very quick. Yes. Oh, what a magnificent view. There we go, ornithologists. Look at that. What a lovely view. So we had the Karoo scrub robin earlier. Now we have the Cape Robin. We have been spoiled with robin sightings today. And this is a very unusual sighting. Yes, and that's why, flitting in and out of the undergrowth rapidly. She was watching it because it is not a common visitor, and she's definitely very alert because of its presence. Please notice, if you are just joining the stream, a big shout out to you. Welcome, you're watching Mongoose Magic Moments, an unedited wildlife documentary behind the scenes in science. And this is a wild yellow mongoose in a huge open area here. She can go wherever she chooses to go, but she's chosen to be here right now at this wildlife hotel. Right outside my research base today. Oh, how wonderful. She's having the equivalent of a siesta, as I like to say with the meerkats, mid-afternoon nap. She was digging out some termites earlier from the recent bit of rainfall we've had. They've come to the surface again. Just a point about termites, I always like to expand on some topics. In Afrikaans, the termite is called die reismier, which translates directly to rice ant, the whitish marks, some people say. Die reismier is nie 'n mier nie, dis verwant aan die kakkerlak. Yes, my friends who followed that, if you did not. The termite is not an ant, it is related to cockroaches, and therefore you do not get the anthills, you get the termitarium or termitaria. Over here we've got exotermes, they build termite mounds upwards because the ground is too hard, and we've got endotermes in some areas, build the termite mounds downwards. Termite nests, yes. We also have what I call a termite's worst nightmare. Yeah, termite vacuum cleaner on legs. The ant bear, the aardvark, the aardvark. It's a very strange creature and a strange name, of course, together with it. Erychteropus afer from Tubuli dentata. There's a bit of the S-bomb for you out there, my friends. Yes. They'll eat hundreds of thousands of termites a night, and they live right here in the reserve. They're also amongst the diggers who use the wildlife hotels and maintain them in this area, the burrow systems. Many people are completely oblivious to the fact that there's another world, a world beneath our feet, the hidden world to most, the world of the fossorial mammals, the digging mammals. Right here, there are hotels, labyrinths of them all around. And if we had to bring a big bulldozer or other earth-moving equipment and did not know there were any burrows here, we could destroy generations-old hotels. That's right, my friends. Priceless hotels. I can tell you now, being the only yellow mongoose that I can get this close to right now, since I followed her from November 2018, and her family, there used to be 6 in the family that I started working with in 2008. She is the only one left. That means if anything happens to her, I will have to start all over again with my research And it could take many years before you see another live stream. That's how it can go. And anything can happen at any time. And that's why every time we see her, I like to bring you a wildlife stream where possible. She's getting very old now. She has already survived incredible hardships, that predator attack on her. Thank you to everyone who sent all those kind words and thoughts. It is always difficult as a wildlife researcher when we have no control of what happens to the animals in the wild. We simply protect their habitat and observe them. They do everything else themselves. She lost her 2 lower canines and all of her lower incisor teeth, and she's managed to survive beautifully, although she did not manage to raise her last litter of young, unfortunately. We are hoping with all of the wonderful food items available now, which is another reason she doesn't have to go furiously searching for food now. She's eaten very well already over the day. Lots of termites, lots of juicy Coleoptera larvae, the beetle grubs. She can afford to take a little time out like this right now and just thermoregulate. Again, for those who are just joining the stream or will watch this later, it has been very overcast and cold now for weeks on end. Today is the warmest it has been in months. Mongoose magic moments right here. Animal adventures, walk with wildlife. And this is a shout out to all of our fellow Jeep jockeys, as I jokingly still refer to them as. Yeah, Pilansberg Game Reserve, Kwamaretane, Bakubung. I remember being in that area, doing a bit of guiding experience way back in the 90s. Yeah, we are the outsiders looking in when we're on a game drive. Not like this. Right here next to the wildlife that we study. Again, if you're watching this, you're part of history right now on the live stream. We are the only ones on the planet who are watching a wild yellow mongoose up close right now. And she is the only one that we can get this close to. Out of all the other yellow mongooses out there, she's the only one. She has an incredible legacy. Please notice that brief glance at me before she moves along. Going back to one of our other wildlife hotels, again, I emphasize that she is never far away from safety. And that is why we have brought in these wildlife hotels, which she has now colonized. It is a fantastic success for conservation and a first of its kind in the world, because this is the first time we have actually done something like this, created wildlife hotels. Many people have mistakenly believed that animals that are diggers can simply dig up their own burrows whenever they need to. When their burrows are destroyed, they often go into the burrows to get away from the very danger that destroys them, like a big plow or a tractor or something like that, or housing developments. As I mentioned before, nobody, including the IUCN, a Red Data Book, and any other conservation authorities out there, know the number of wild meerkats and mongooses in the world. It is impossible to know, because these are digging animals and will go into the ground when there is danger, such as a helicopter fly over to count animals like elephants, rhinoceros, etc., which can be done reliably and accurately, but not with the digging animals. They will go underground, and that's it. So there is no accurate count of how many there are. But what I can tell you, which is accurate, is how little habitat is left for them, which means many of the so-called non-endangered species are critically endangered. And I know this because the habitat has been destroyed. And even where these animals do occur, like here right now, they cannot live in an area where their holes have been destroyed, because they cannot go there and dig a hole in time to get away from a predator. And this is why I've mentioned it before, in under 5 seconds or less, if you are here right now as a meerkat or mongoose, and I said, where's the nearest hole to get to and away from danger, when a peregrine falcon, Falco peregrinus, is attacking you, at 384 kilometers an hour. For those who missed this or haven't seen it or heard about it in my streams, yes, the fastest creature on the planet is the peregrine falcon, not the lanner. They're also very fast, but nowhere nearly as fast. Yeah. Falco biomicus, the lanner falcon, and Falco peregrinus, the peregrine falcon, occur in this area. That is why she is never far from an escape tunnel. She couldn't be here right now if not for these tunnels. There are no other wildlife hotels that occur naturally in these farming areas left. The animals are colonizing the area again that they used to occur in, thank you to Associazione Suricati Italia and the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project for this, and all our international sponsors. If you would like to come out and visit, you can help build the wildlife hotels. I can tell you now, it is not an easy job to do, dragging heavy pipes and building subterranean structures. But we are doing it, and we have done, and that is why we are able to see this moment right here, where she's stretched out beautifully. That's again thermoregulation. She would never be lying here like this in the past, if not for the wildlife hotels that we have created. Now she can start colonizing the area and digging up new wildlife hotels, which could take years to do. They cannot dig up a hole in the ground, is my point, within a few seconds. Burrow systems are maintained from one generation to the next. Many species inhabit the same structure or hotel, but not the same room or chamber. Please notice that. That was a bird flying past briefly, and immediately she reacted. It's easy to be deceived. I hope you see this. Please drop a comment about it if you do. Please notice how her tail puffed up as a visual alarm, a warning. Please notice how she's not even looking at me. She doesn't need to. The shoes I'm wearing have the scent of her on them, her family, and the meerkats from the Ungulungu meerkat group. Now she's still sunning. She's multitasking, basically. She's turning her side towards the sunlight, sniffing the air. Please notice how her ears are moving around carefully as she inspects. Beautiful. Look at that. And they have almost the equivalent of an eye mask like that of the meerkats. That dark eyeliner around the eyes. Absolutely stunning. Just letting her know as she turns her back to me, this is incredible for me to stand here right now. As she alarmed towards that bird that suddenly flitted through into the undergrowth. And she seemed completely relaxed. And that's how easily people can be deceived. Now, any human in the area, a vehicle driving past, person coughing, sneezing, shouting, there we go. That's the culprit. Just going about their day-to-day activities, except they caused an alarm because of the sound that their wings made. Karoo scrublark. It's an ally of hers. As I say, you react first, ask questions second if you want to survive in nature. As I like to say, if you snooze, you lose. Oh, look, it's the Cape robin and the Karoo scrub robin right next to each other. That's unusual. She's again watching them carefully, not because she wants to hunt them, but because they're her allies. Way off in the distance, I hear the Cape Franklin again, Cape spurfowl. Yeah. As our Dutch friend has said in the past, over 2 decades ago now on one of my visits, that's some work harder, the bird call. And in the evening, drink lager. I recently immortalized that saying on our channel. It's a beautiful day, and she is back to auto-grooming. Please notice, this is almost like a displacement behavior for a cat. If you've ever noticed a cat, how it will walk into the middle of a room with people, sit right in the middle of everybody and start licking itself. That is a displacement behavior. It will lick itself, and then you will quite often notice the tail will be flicking. And when a cat wags its tail, for those who know cats, you will know very well that is not the same as when a dog wags its tail. It is the opposite, in fact, of that. Yes. quite often it is about to become a bad career move if you're around a cat that is wagging its tail or swishing its tail, as I like to say jokingly, because they will often attack. It's a displacement. They lick themselves and they will go up to somebody who's not paying any attention to them and bite them. That's common. I've seen it many times and it's very predictable. So what's happening right now, after that scare of the bird moving suddenly, even though it wasn't an alarm, and she came out briefly afterwards knowing it wasn't an alarm, she is poised and ready to go back into the hole, which is right next to, in case any danger returns. Constantly alert, listening for any possible danger. Right now you're getting a snapshot into why I call it Mongoose Magic Moments. It's incredible for me to stand here. I will never forget this moment in time. I hope to have many more moments like this. I've been incredibly fortunate over all these years to follow her life story in the wild, documenting her life. All the way since November 2018. I'm specifically keeping the camera at this position now because of that Karoo scrub robin just up ahead. You may be able to see it flicking around in the undergrowth there, searching for any possible snacks. There we go. You can see it's almost always picking up something. It's amazing how much food they eat in an area where there doesn't seem to be anything. We've got the Cape Sparrow males, the black masks, and the females coming to visit for our ornithologist friends. We also have domestic sparrows coming through, but they've got the gray on the head, not the black. Yeah, difficult to see the male there now. There he is. They nest in the Meerkat mansion roof as well. Yeah. Please notice how she's gone into the pipe. It's getting a bit warm. Yeah. And there she is. Hello, my friends out there. Thank you for joining the stream. It's lovely to have you with. This is, of course, behind the scenes in science. For those of you who have been fortunate enough to understand what you're actually seeing, you cannot buy this experience. Not even if you're Elon Musk with over $1 trillion can you buy this experience, because it's not for sale. That's correct. This is not a tourism site. It's a research and film site. And for a research or film to be study to be done on this particular mongoose right now will cost thousands in any currency, because to get this close takes years and years and years. That's all the accommodation, transport costs, food, never mind the techniques even used to do this. So when I tell you this is why I bring it to the public free of charge, it is for that reason. Few people would be able to afford it if they could. And even if you had all the money and wanted to, you could not buy the experience. I just want to emphasize that again. She is the only yellow mongoose, Synictus penicillata, of that entire species, out of all the animals on the entire planet, that we can get this close to right now in the wild. It's a fact. Her mother was on the Super Bowl, watched by millions on the big screen back in 2010, on the BMW International short film series called BMW Unscripted. 5 films, I sometimes mention this. Filmed by BMW. My 2 research vehicles were always covered in mud. And Meerkat and Mongoose scent patterns. And BMW International contacted me. Back in 2010, I was chosen to represent BMW for the whole of Africa. That's right, out of the entire continent, my BMWs were chosen out of all the others out there, because they'd never seen such a bizarre usage of their BMWs. I chose the BMW because no other sane person would ever drive vehicles like that off-road like I did. And they filmed this. You can still watch the films, BMW Unscripted, on any good BMW website. They also filmed a gentleman from California, yep, with his BMW and his relationship with the vehicle and how he had been using it. An Italian couple, if I recall, a very unusual vehicle that they had, a very old kind of BMW, and 2 motorbike BMWs. Yes, and one that was a racing car BMW. Yeah, so in fact, it was just the one motorbike. I'm thinking of another BMW that I've seen. So 5 short films. BMW Unscripted, you can check it out, BMW Unscripted Grant. It was way back in 2010. The Ungulungu meerkats appear in the film, scent marking the BMW's tires. It was a mobile hide, that's why it was never washed. It was often covered in mud. I would never wash it because I would be washing away the very scent that made it possible for that vehicle to park next to wild meerkats, the only BMW on the planet and the only one that ever will be that close to meerkats, because it is no longer used. Yeah. They are long since retired, those BMWs. But they're immortalized. That's right. And in that BMW film with the meerkats, they even chose my meerkat sounds that I make for the introduction to the entire series. It was a great honor. Yes. To be permanently linked to BMW in that way. That's right, BMW. I haven't forgotten you. And no, BMW does not sponsor me. And no, they were not sponsored. Those are my own vehicles through choice that had nothing to do with BMW except that they were made by BMW. And then they approached me because they had heard such unusual things and seen my films that I'd already made with the meerkats scent marking the vehicle, etc., like a piece of mobile territory. And that's where the nickname the Meerkatmobile came from. It was not one I gave it. People jokingly called it that. But it was a vehicle that thousands of people have been in from all over the world. Just a bit of a trip down memory lane, as I like to do on my live streams. And then the Tseboko Lordi Yellow Mongoose group was also in the film with the Ungulungu meerkats, that BMW film. Yeah, and that was her mother, of course, in this 2010 film. She wasn't even born yet. It's difficult to imagine that 8 years later she would be born in November 2018. Ah, what a journey it has been. I started studying and protecting her family back in 2008. It's 18 years this year. Wow. Time goes by. Cape Robin is back. What a lovely day it is. Just to have a bit of mongoose magic moment relaxation. That Cape Robin is very, very interested in that area. Of course, where meerkats and mongooses move around in this reserve, they often dig up many, many different interesting smells, and other creatures are also disturbed, so the birds quite commonly will go and visit those areas again. Please notice how she's not even looking at... Oh, look who came to visit. Ah, how lucky. It's Ploceus velatus, my friends, or velatus. Ploceus. I love that name. What an S-bomb, science bomb. Look at that. And right next to it, we have a Cossifer capensis, Cape Robin. So, that is the male, bright yellow and black. I've mentioned him a few times because he's now busy snacking. I don't know what he's eating there. He's found something. Yeah, being a gramnivore, he'll be eating little seeds. There are so many different food items all around. Many people never even notice how much food is around. All of these are food items, in case you're wondering, and if you were to visit here, you could eat them raw. I eat them almost every day. You can eat the leaves and the stems, for those who are just watching the stream at this point in the stream. Malva parviflora that I mentioned earlier, almost an hour ago now. Malva parviflora, the kissibla, the cheesewood. Yeah. I hope you're having a fantastic day, my friends out there, bringing a live stream behind the scenes in science to you. Yes, the only one in the world right now on a yellow mongoose up close. In case you're wondering, no, this is not a zoo. This is a private reserve in South Africa, in the Western Cape, and it is the only place in the entire world, yes, that's right, on this entire rock that we're all on. It's the only place to see a yellow mongoose up close like this in the wild. She's the only one left of her entire family. Born in November 2018. You can see her life story since then. Very fortunately for us all, she survived a terrible predator attack last year in the drought of 2025, where she lost part of her lower jaw, which can be seen now as that very big scar underneath her face, underneath on her jaw. The right-hand side of her jaw, we might see it. Oh, wow. You are lucky to see a wild yellow mongoose having a yawn, and that's very unusual to see. Very unusual indeed. All right. And back to sunning. Oh, and a bit of auto-grooming. We are being treated for sure today. She's done a lot of inspecting of the different wildlife hotels, escape tunnels. She scent marked them. For those who've been watching from the beginning, you will have noticed that urine mark that she created earlier. Very rare to see that long-term scent post. So that sunlight, which she was doing earlier before the birds alarm. Oh, look. Look who's come to visit now. It's someone else. Oh, yes. Now, my friends, I would like to tell you that is not the fiscal shrike. Please notice the grey on the eye. Yeah. It's the fiscal flycatcher. Also coming to visit. The fiscal shrike is a bit larger, has a chunkier bill, doesn't have those vibrissae along the bill like you'll get with the flycatcher. Sigella silens versus Lanius calaris. For our bird friends out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Fiscal flycatcher next to the masked weaver. Not the Cape weaver, which is Plosius capensis. This is Plosius valatus, or valatus. Those orangey red eyes, almost like the yellow mongoose eyes in appearance. A brilliant orangey red. Oh, look at this. Absolutely magnificent. We are so fortunate to be here right now watching this. Yeah, that's right, my friends. I do sing to meerkats and mongooses. I recite poems. Please drop a comment if you've ever done something like that with your cats or dogs or other animals that you may know. It's something that they get very used to hearing. It's the sound of our voices that they become comfortable with. And so, because I'm in the mood for it, as I have done before, I'm going to recite another poem for you out there. Yes, unscripted. It is about a butterfly that I watched in the Kalahari Desert, to be specific, the southern Kalahari, back in the 90s. And it was incredible to me to even see a butterfly, and I wondered how could it even survive such a harsh climate where temperatures can go over 50 degrees centigrade. This poem, while watching a wild yellow mongoose, it's completely surreal for me to be doing right now, is titled Fragility in Flight. Oh, lovely butterfly, as I watch you flutter by, I stop and ponder. Humanity can only wonder at this marvel of fragility, graciously gliding on rice paper wings of crimson feathery fire, mimicking the echo of past seasons' wing beats, with an innate desire, soaring silently, erratically higher and higher, Just below the earth we know you struggled and crept, many moons you slept, emerging triumphant at last, fluttering away beyond our grasp. Lighter than a silky down feather, you may only endure the fairest of weather, swiftly swept up on gentle airy arms, flaunting shimmering iridescent leggy charms, prancing prettily hither and thither, momentarily pausing your careless flight to precariously alight on tantalizing pleasures. Blossoms vibrant and bright, it is to them that you tenaciously cling as they pendulously swing, tentatively extending a shiny black velvet concertina coil of taste and smell towards the favorite food you know so well. Nature's voluptuous bounty of sweetest nectar and dew, like bees drawn inevitably towards golden honey, never fails to lure you. But beware of that eight-eyed, unblinking glassy stare. It is fixated on you whilst your clouded preoccupation probes anew. Rapacious ivory fangs are suddenly revealed, and yet the squat, flowery body remains cryptically concealed, waiting with hungry patience between floral folds. An appearance such as yours fits deliciously into a ravenous mold. Away! Spread your fragile wings in flight, for here dwells one who wishes to feast. Make haste, float away from this menacing beast. Randomly caught in an airy net, lifted away to safety, you soon forget. Nothing is perchance, continuing your fantastic acrobatic dance. Slicing ribbons through the cobalt dome, a voyager at ease in an invisible home. With sudden yearning, your movements are transformed into twisting and turning. A collision course has been set today towards a courtship display. Individual lives are hypnotized into play. Hundreds of spherical lives you must now carry and lay, allowing them to mature and grow as you have one day. Escaping their terrestrial confines they will go, ever onwards, new lives they will sow, beckoned by the silent call leading us all. All right, my friends, that was Fragility in Flight. Bit of a live recital for you. And I'd like to show you how incredible it is right now, why I call it Mongoose Magic Moments. We've got two fiscal shrikes. There we are. Fiscal shrike, Lanius calaris, the butcher bird, the Luxman. I call it the cry wolf bird. If you watch my other videos, you'll know why, because of its interspecies deception, where it will make false alarm calls to try and disturb the mongoose and meerkats that it follows. It will often drop their food and it will fly down and take the food. We also have the fiscal flycatcher, and of course, the reason they are all so relaxed is they know me very well. No, they are not tame, and this is not a zoo. These are not tame animals. They can go wherever they want, but they know me from years and years and countless thousands of hours of me being in the same neighborhood as them and never attacking them or scaring them, and always letting them know where I am, even with that poem that you just heard. The fiscal shrike has arrived. I am not an alarm to the bird. It can clearly see I'm standing right next to one of the most vigilant creatures in the reserve, the mongoose. And the mongoose is not alarming, so therefore I cannot be a threat. And they learn over years through associative learning. Positive and negative associations, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, that I am not a threat, and therefore the mongoose also reacts to them. If they alarm, she will alarm. The same with the meerkats. All right, I'm just looking for that masked weaver, the male with the black. There he is. The male with the black mask making a new nest. Ah, here it comes back. Yeah. The males will make many nests, and if the nests are not suitable, the female will inspect them and then tear them down. I'm talking about Placius valatus again. They make those pendulum nests. The lower ranking males have nests lower to the ground, and the higher ranking males have nests higher above the ground, and they return to the same nesting sites every year. Quite a fascinating species that, just for our ornithologist friends out there. Thought I'd mention that briefly for you. All right, there's a lot of action happening right now. Many animals are coming to visit the watering area. The fiscal shrike is ever vigilant in case there's an opportunity to steal, inverted commas, non-scientific term there, food from the mongoose. Yes, it will do exactly that. Fly down suddenly, as has been filmed on many of my previous videos, where the bird will make a sudden alarm call. The mongoose will often drop its food, digging a juicy grub out of the ground. And even in the Kalahari Desert, when I first documented this behavior with the fiscal shrike and various hornbill species, the yellow-billed hornbill, the grey-billed hornbill, Toccus nasutus greybill, and Toccus flavirostris, I believe it is. You can check that out. I think Erythrorhynchus is red-billed, and that's not them. They don't occur in that same area with the meerkats. But anyway, my point is, Dicrurus adsimilis, Dicrurus, the fork-tailed drongo, not Ludwigi, the square-tailed. The fork-tailed drongo will often make an alarm, and meerkat babies will drop their food, including Tanopus garrulus, as big as that, the barking gecko, Tanopus garrulus. It's a silent P, quite a mouthful, that one. Ptenopus garrulus, Tanopus garrulus. If you want to check that, they're the ones that make that sound in the evenings. Tuck, 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 tuck. Of course, that sound means nothing to her. They don't occur here. I miss them. They're beautiful. And the number of calls they make has to be carefully monitored, because if they make too many, predators will find them. So it's basically, here I am for any mate, and then they keep quiet in case a predator finds them. All right. Beautiful to see this couple next to each other here. The fiscal shrike male on the left, and then fiscal shrike female with a gray, not his striking black and white marks. Again, just staying close by at all times. Please notice how she's not even watching them. But if they make an alarm, she will react immediately. And vice versa. If she makes an alarm, they will also react. And again, nobody is looking at me. Nobody is interacting with me. I'm just the noisy object. Just another neighborhood member here. The difference is they don't benefit from me that they know of. They don't know that they're in a protected habitat here, thanks to all of our international sponsors who are creating additional wildlife hotels for them. And of course, visiting our shops, which directly sponsor our work. Yeah, they don't know that, but thank you all the same. So, the fiscal shrikes, that's very interesting. They're actually eating little fruits at the moment. I didn't realize they were going to eat those. That's very rare. Yeah, because they're insectivorous. In fact, I've seen fiscal shrikes catching Rhabdomus permelia, striped mice, which are bigger than the birds. And unfortunately for many animals who end up on the receiving end of that bill, the fiscal shrike is known as the butcher bird because it will pin its food often onto barbed wire fences, or in this case, the acacia karoo, sweet thorn, which has now changed into some other unpronounceable scientific name. As I've mentioned, if you use the earlier scientific names or the later ones, they will still be picked up on in Google, so whichever one you like. But many names are being reclassified now. All right, here we have the karoo scrub robbing its back. There's a lot of bird activity going on here. So this is 1 hour, 44 minutes into an uninterrupted live stream behind the scenes in science, the only one of its kind on the planet right now. It's a fact, because this is the only place in the world to get up this close to a yellow mongoose in the wild who has been studied for all of these years. That's right. That's right, BBC, National Geographic, and Discovery Channel, and all the others out there. Yes, it's the only place. And no, you cannot film it. It is closed to the public and to film crews and even other research biologists. Here we have a beautiful display of species. Let me give you a quick rundown what's happening here. Yellow mongoose. As I was saying, Elon Musk was born in Pretoria. I studied in Pretoria. You cannot even experience this, even with $1 trillion, because it's not for sale. That's right. It is for the public. Nobody owns wildlife, and I work for everybody out there as a nature conservationist. That's right. Nobody owns these animals. They are the true symbols of wildlife. All right, here we have, look at this, beautiful. We've got the Karoo scrub lark right here. Then we have the fiscal shrike, the butcherbird, the luxman, Lanius calaris, right next to Placius vellatus, the masked weaver. And we even have the female fiscal shrike. In the distance, I hear a white-faced duck, an unusual visitor, and that's made her slightly alarmed. Ooh, it was not easy. Yeah, if I had to sneeze out loud, that would be a disaster. All of the animals here would fly away, and she would run underground. All the birds, I should say, would fly away. As you can see, they know my calls very well. I have seen, oh, I'm getting pollen in my nose here. There's a lot of pollen out here right now. On a hot day like this, it's just going everywhere. Yeah, something many people don't appreciate when they see the end products, see the films, and that's why I like to bring you, again, the unedited wildlife film. Yeah, they're getting cramped, they're getting sunburned, they're getting bitten by insects, getting bitten by all sorts of takeaway orders being placed for grant takeaways, yeah, such as ticks and fleas and mites, biting flies. The mosquitoes are only one of the visitors. Yeah, that's what it's like for wildlife researchers. You have to sit still for hours and hours and hours. For me to be able to move around now has taken me years of patience to be able to earn that. You don't just get it. Yeah, it has to be earned slowly, because if you had to move at all when a meerkat is watching you at first, it will simply go below ground and not come up again. It is not the same, my friends, as working with an elephant or rhinoceros. That is easy to watch. You can watch them as long as you want. Meerkats and mongoose simply go underground when they don't want to be seen, which is most of the time if they don't know you. If the neighborhood does not trust you. But by being around her now and the meerkats, I have a passport. Please notice how her legs stick outwards. I mentioned this before when she stands up. Unlike the meerkats whose legs droop down along their bellies. Again, she's got the 5 nails. It's that extra digit that sticks out, making the legs very stiff. All right, she's seen something for sure in the distance. Let's try and make out what it is. That's why sounds and smells are so important in a place like this. An aircraft flying over to try and get a survey on meerkats or mongoose is absolutely ludicrous and impossible. But of course, rhinoceros and elephant, yes, you will see them easily. The digging mammals, as I mentioned earlier, and it needs to be repeated, cannot be counted in the wild. So Red Data Book species and other conservation authorities out there, stop talking absolute nonsense and making ludicrous claims about species, saying, oh, the meerkat is not endangered. Yes, it is most certainly endangered. Because nobody knows the number left in the wild. So you may wonder, hang on, Grant, you just said nobody knows, so how can you say it's endangered? Because, my friends, thank you for answering my question. We know the meerkat is endangered. We know various mongoose species are endangered, not because we know how many of them are left, because we know how little habitat for them is left, which can be measured accurately. You cannot fly past in an aircraft to see how many meerkats are running around an area, because they'll simply go underground long before any such disturbance gets near them. When I say long before, I'm talking about kilometers away from them. And we know this, for anybody who's ever been with me on a visit, and that's thousands of people in the past. Many research biologists and film crews from the BBC, National Geographic, and Discovery Channel know this, that even using binoculars, we cannot even identify what meerkats and the yellow mongoose in this case are seeing. Aha, please notice how she will stand up. Yep. A lone Egyptian goose flying past. All right, she's relaxed again because that's not an alarm. In the distance, I also hear Hadida ibis calling, and way off in the distance, a chainsaw. Somebody's harvesting flood damaged wood. Yes. The very characteristic call. I see them far down towards the river. That's the riverbank, my friends, going through my reserve. The Hadida ibis are returning to roost early. Well, it's been a beautiful 1 hour, 50 minutes and 46 seconds of live streaming right now. Again, unedited wildlife documentary, no AI, artificial deception as I call it. That's why I like to bring you the unedited wildlife documentaries. What you just saw with my hand moving like that is not some random movement I do. It is a displacement reassurance. It's my IP that I have developed over decades. I've used it with chimpanzee in Kibale rainforest, Central Africa on the equator, next to Fort Portal, wild chimpanzee. I was fortunate enough to be invited by the research biologist there when I was studying banded mongoose in Queen Elizabeth Park, Uganda. For those who know the story, this is old news to you. That was amusing. You can't script that big yawn from her. And again, please notice, and if you rewind and pause that, you will see how she is missing her lower teeth. No lower canines or incisors are left after her terrible predator interaction that nearly killed her. Yeah. So, displacement reassurance. Brrr. Any animal that looks up at me will recognize that hand gesture, even if I'm not making any sounds. I can do that and they will recognize it. When I'm working with groups of 30 plus meerkats or 60 plus banded mongooses, the most sociable mongoose in the world is the banded mongoose. Every single animal within a group knows me very well and knows my different sounds and different hand gestures, and I know every single animal within a group. And it's important that you know the different tolerances of every animal in the group. That's where the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, comes in. Cognitive psychology. If one animal is being nervous, the question firstly to our human viewers out there is, how do you even know what nervous behavior is if you're watching a meerkat? How do you know? And then you need to identify the individual and understand that, and I'm dropping some science secrets here that I don't usually discuss. In fact, I can tell you right now, nobody's ever heard this on a live stream, so I'll mention it. In the morning when a meerkat wakes up, it is still very much asleep, very groggy. I call those the weather forecasters. And if that, or those, the ones that come up first, decide that there's danger, they'll go below and nobody will come up for a long time, could be an hour or more. So if you happen to move just as they start to come up and they haven't quite woken up yet, they'll simply go below again. And that is an unethical mistake. And that is why it's very important not to move, and also to recognize the different states that the animals you are studying are in. So one animal that has been up for longer, a weather forecaster, and has seen myself or a film crew, other research biologists, will gradually look more and more relaxed and become more tolerant. And then one that has not come up yet and then comes up could suddenly alarm and go below and get everyone else to go below. That means there are different tolerance levels based on exposure rates. And that is why it's important to understand every individual you are studying has its own tolerance to a certain observer or film crew, etc. If you move at the pace of the least tolerant animal, that is a good guideline. For anyone who ever watches this, you're getting tips that I would not usually give. But research biologists who have worked with me, film crews, know this. You do not move quickly when one animal, for example, does not allow a quick movement. Even if others do, and you move quickly and one that is less tolerant becomes nervous, it will affect everybody. And that is why this type of work requires absolute multitasking and patience. Here we've got the masked weaver male and the fiscal shrike male. Absolutely magnificent. We are very fortunate to see them today, my friends. Look at that, right next to each other. Yes. Ploceus velatus and Lanius colaris. All right, back to Synictus penicillata, my friends. Lots of S-bombs for you scientists out there who want those. And of course, if you don't speak English, that's fine. That's what the scientific names are for, so that you know which species we are talking about, because this is also known in Afrikaans as die geel meishond, the yellow mouse dog. You heard it here, my friends. A mongoose in Afrikaans is called a mouse dog, because they often hunt mice, a meishond. M-U-I-S-H-O-N-D, which brings me to a very, very popular topic. I see I had a lot of views, over 1,000 plus within minutes of releasing this, so I'm going to mention it now. Die stinkmeishond. For our international viewers, this is for you. Translated directly from the Afrikaans, it would be die, D-I-E, is not die, it means the, T-H-E. Stink, S-T-I-N-K, stink. Meis, M-U-I-S, hond, mouse dog. Die stinkmeishond, stink mouse dog. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Please comment. Die stinkmeishond. Yes, my Afrikaans friends out there, I would like to tell you something else. Die stinkmeishond is nie a meishond nie. You heard it here. Yes, my friends. The stinky mouse dog is not, in fact, a mouse dog. It is not a mongoose. It is Onyx striatus, I-C-T-O-N-Y-X, if you'd like to Google that. Onyx striatus, S-T-R-I-A-T-U-S, Onyx striatus. The zorilla. Yes, it is not to be confused with Poecilogal albinucha. Yes, striped polecat. I'm talking about, some people say, oh, the weasel stripe, and they get confused because it's black and white. Poecilogal albinucha is much smaller. Much, much smaller. All right. They are from the family Mustelidae, die familie Mustelidae. Dit is verwant aan die ratel en die otter. It is related to, it is the same family of the honey badger, die ratel, Mellivora capensis, and the otter, specifically Cape clawless otter, Onyx capensis, and Lutra maculicollis, spotted-necked otter. So, they are not from the family Viverridae, Viverrinae, Herpestidae, Gelidinae, or genets, tree civet, palm civet, paradox urinae. That's right, my friends. The meerkat and the mongoose are related to the genets and the civets. They are not Mustelidae. So my point here, to summarize that up, for all of you out there, die stinkmeishond, the stinky mouse dog in Afrikaans, is not, in fact, a mongoose. It is not a meishond. It is not a mouse dog. It is related to the honey badger, the otters from family Mustelidae. So it's fascinating to me that there's such a great deal of confusion. There are 34 recognized species of mongooses in the world, not mongoose and mongai, in case you're wanting to say that, my friends. It is not the case. Yeah, because it's not from the English plural. Yeah, it's from Mongo. It has a different origin, which I won't go into details of now. But because there are so many species around the world, there's a great deal of confusion. Even calling species that are not mongooses, mongooses. Now, if you happen to go and falsely accuse, which happens a great deal in my line of work, in professional nature conservation, saying, oh, but the stinkmeishond, the stinky mouse dog, which, as I said before, isn't even a mouse dog, a mongoose, is eating chickens, is eating this, is eating that, and then you think that the meerkat, which is not eating any of those in the wild, is eating that, and you go, oh, the meerkat is a mongoose, the mongoose, and the stinkmeishond is the same thing. No, it is not, and that is why there's a great deal of confusion, because what does it help if we have the scientific information in a publication that is never read by the local landowner, perhaps because they're not interested in it, or they just don't get round to it, or it's not on the list of exciting reads. The Evolution of a Cooperative Sociable Breeding Mammal. Yes, one of our publications. However, I've never come across any landowner, and I've worked with hundreds over the years, who has ever read that publication. So what good is it talking about how certain animals are beneficial to have around because they are breaking up the soil around the root systems of plants? They aerate the root systems, we know this. They are the equivalent of crater plows on legs, breaking up compacted soil, allowing water to infiltrate, allowing microhabitats, niches to develop, such as spider webs, forming seeds get trapped in these diggings. Dung and urine is often left behind when the meerkat is digging up a juicy coleopterous snack, a caterpillar. Same with the mongoose. And now the farmer never even reads about this. So how do they know that that is beneficial? That's where I come in, my friends. And that's why I do conservation through education like this right now. Live streams. So that you can ask your questions. You can send in your comments. I do it for free. Please do share. Please do like. Please do comment. It is a free service. I work for everybody as a professional nature conservationist. And I'd like to emphasize this again. This is not a tourism site. This is a research site and conservation site. And, in the distance, I hear one of my neighbor's cows calling. Yeah, there's a world famous herd of cows that moves around the area. Katunguru, so named after a village outside Queen Elizabeth Park in Uganda that I spent time in 97 with the banded mongooses there. So that is the Stone Dojo Gym. You can Google search that. You're welcome to come and visit me. There's no charge involved. As I've mentioned to people who have wondered, how is that possible? Because I work for myself, my friends, and the reserve is a private reserve. It is not a tourism site. Yes, you can quote me on that. Just let me know where you came across the information. If you would like to come and visit, you can come up and visit the Stone Dojo. You will, however, be requested to bring a little stone with you to deposit into the Stone Dojo rock pile up there, that landmark, which is world famous now. If you're wondering where it is, just Google search on the map, the Stone Dojo Gym, my friends. Come out, have a nice workout with us. Come walk in the reserve with me. Just drop me a WhatsApp or email and let me know when you're interested in visiting. So this is Mongoose Magic Moments right here. Hello, my friends. Hope you're having a beautiful day. This is a 2 hour and 2 minutes and 48 seconds live stream. Unedited wildlife documentary. No AI, no artificial deception. All right, I'm going to end it there. This is a very long live stream, and I must get busy with a few other things today. So I hope you all stay very well. Sayonara. Totemo yoi tomodachi minasan. Safari njema. Salani gashle, hambani gashle. Gitsamapeni. Tot ziens amal. Auf Wiedersehen. It's the man behind the hand, author Grant Malcolm mcilrath, signing off. I hope you watch the full stream on YouTube. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining the stream.